Hi, friends. Just doing this short video today to make an endorsement. I have been following the developments on the island of St. Lucia. I've been monitoring both political parties. I've been looking at issues. I have tried to remain free from the petty, ungodly postings of persons cursing each other and hating and all the other negative things that happen during the campaign season. And I have looked carefully and prayerfully at this whole situation, and I sat there and I asked myself a number of questions. And I look at one of the things that I pay much attention to is how a nation treats, and I would use the word itself, when you are going through a crisis. How do you come together and work it out? How do you work it out? Do you start fighting each other? Do you start assassinating each other's character? Do you belittle each other? Do you call each other animals? How do you deal when you go through a crisis as a nation? And there are two things that I, based on studies, that I came across. One is that the Bible states that a godless society, a godly nation does not prosper. A prosperous nation is one that fears God. And two, unity, working together, synergy. And there are times when you would not be able to agree with persons and actions, and a level-headed person will strive to work out those differences and work along together. And what I see is a nation divided and fighting within itself, and you cannot survive when you're having internal battles. You're distracted. You cannot grow successfully, and during that process you have power struggles among the politicians. What you have is the vulnerable being caught between that clash. And on both sides of the political spectrum, what I'm saying is that both parties should be able to, after the elections, work together for the common good. There are too many egoistic individuals. They're just self-centered. They're all thinking about themselves. Some thinking of their future. Am I going to get work after this thing? It's all about them and their filthy lucre. But in national interests, national pride, I believe that there need to be a movement. There need to be a movement that should be able to unify the people. And I will tell you what will not unify is a blue party. A blue movement will not unify. It will cause more division. Why? Because, and any reasonable person would understand what I'm saying. There are those who would not want to understand because they are caught up in, in the ignorance, the regular ignorance that you see during the political season. But for those who will understand and want to understand, you cannot have national unity through Mr. Stevenson King, who is the former UWP minister, a former UWP minister. Why? Because right now you have bitterness on the UWP side, and on the Labour side you have you still have that bitterness from all the years of campaigning, and and the Maypuis and all the stuff that went on. Believe it or not, those bitterness will still be remembered. And so you have that divide. You have those who are disappointed, those who are hurt, and you cannot have that national unity from such a movement. And there need to be a genuine movement, a few influential persons from both sides of the aisle, from both the United Workers' Party and the Social Labour Party. There need to be a group of individuals from these both parties, influential persons, and I believe that the leaders can start such a movement by trying to unify the country. Don't further divide. Strive for unity, and the country will prosper. Believe it or not, with that type of unity, national unity, your country will prosper. When people see both politicians sitting together having a decent conversation, or they see both leaders involved in projects, both leaders sitting together, talking together, then it sends a signal to the country. And the unity of the island depends on both political leaders. Whoever is in power, whoever is going to be in opposition, both must come together for the common good of the country and work together for the development of a nation. Further division will not help. You are not a big economy. You're not that type of heavy roller in the world. You're a small country, and you need to work together for the common good. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Yes, it is possible, and I'm a little surprised that we do not have much religious leaders coming out and encouraging this type of unity among the leaders, the political leaders. If you go back in ancient time, in history, you had religious leaders influencing the politicians, giving them guidance. You have Daniel, you have all those guys who were given advice, led by the Holy Spirit, and these leaders are just sitting by and allow a nation to be divided without having an input. They are not out there. Why? Because there's this phobia that as a Christian you cannot speak of politics, or you cannot try to have some influence within the political world. And I think that's a myth, and that is something that to the detriment of the people cause more division. What I would say is that I would not encourage anyone to go out jumping up and whining as a Christian and getting involved in all these nonsense and pettiness that you see, but I can see persons discussing issues that affect persons. Like for me, I'm an advocate for the elderly and the poor, and you can have persons advocating on behalf of the poor, people petitioning for 200-room facility for the elderlies. I know that there are those that are run by private entities, but as a government, you need to make provisions for the poorer persons, especially the seniors. I don't believe a senior should be in a house by herself or by himself, and somebody pass once in a while. looking at that person need to have that care, ongoing care. And so I'm an advocate. And how can I advocate? Through the government system. I can ask them to implement laws and policies that will positively affect those persons. And so as Christians, we need to get out the phobia that we are not political. We are political. We all are political. And some are just hypocrites, like we know. Behind the scenes, they're doing whatever they're doing, sometimes to benefit the family or themselves. They need a favor. They call one of their government ministers or a family member and say, look, I need this, I need that. And they get it done behind the scenes. But we need public advocates among Christians that would petition for laws that pleases the Lord, that things that would uplift the nation spiritually. The spiritual leaders should get involved in I would call it twisting the arm of politicians, so that we can get certain legislation and laws in place to influence